It is a celebration of De Pere's rich history that shaped the community of today. The De Pere Historical Society is teaming up with the Mulva Cultural Center to host an old photo show that runs tomorrow and also on Sunday. I recently spoke with leaders from both organizations about this special presentation.
Well, what we're going to do, because of the setting that we have at the Mulva Cultural Center, it's a unique screen. I'm sure Marv can elaborate on this, but it's one of three screens of this type in the country. Correct, Marv?
Yep.
Good. And it's a large screen with incredible detail. So when we're trying to come up, normally with photo shows, we do a themed type of thing. But when I saw one of the photos being displayed on the screen, I thought, we're just doing pictures. So what we're going to do is share with the community and the guests that show up various shots, George Street, Main Street, Reed Street, Broadway, aerial shots. We actually have two videos that we have planned. One of them is about 90 years old. The other one, I believe, 85 years old. So we'll share those, which captures a lot of De Pere from the past.
And what a beautiful space, Marv. The Mulva Cultural Center is just fantastic. For you to be able to use your space to showcase these photos featuring De Pere's history, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the purpose of the Cultural Center was to bring things in from around the country that you wouldn't normally see, but we found that local interest is just as popular, and our clientele really love anything that has a Wisconsin history behind it.
And McKim, the photos and the video, where were these stored? Where did they come from?
These were always part of the collection. We've actually, Joe Cerrugi and I started doing these photo shows a little over 20 years ago. And it evolved from actually Joe sitting in front of his computer screen, his laptop back in the day, looking at old De Pere photos. And I was familiar with these these projection units, and had the idea to maybe see if people would be interested in coming to take a look at these. The Historical Society at the time had an extensive collection of photos and documents that we thought we could share with the intent of trying to get information on some of the unknown photos. We had no idea what the level of interest would be. We were hoping 8 to 10 people would show up for our initial show. We ended up with a full house at the community center in De Pere of around 45, 50 people. At the end of the program, we asked how many would be interested in coming and seeing another one, and every hand went up. So we kind of went from there. And over the course of the years, we generally do 4, maybe 5 programs a year, normally themed programs. It might be grocery stores or taverns or George Street scenes, that type of thing. But with this particular program, because of the screen, we just thought, let's put some of these beautiful photos on display of old De Pere that go back into the 1800s, in fact.
Both of you, why is it so important to you to be able to bring these photos and the videos to the community?
Well, I know for me, it's important for people to have an understanding of their history and how De Pere changed back then, and of course continues to change today. I know some people would like things to stay the way they are. It has changed numerous times throughout the course of our history. As an organization, we feel it important for us to embrace the past, record the past, and then share that history with our community and outlying communities as well.
Yeah, and I was involved with the taking down of the old schools for Notre Dame and building the new school and the building of the cultural center. And as part of that, we had to go back and look at what was on these sites prior to that. And it was interesting of how it has changed. There's been so many different businesses on that, even just on that one block that the cultural center is on now. There's been a deep history of many different types of buildings and types of businesses that were there.
Is there one photograph or piece that will be highlighted during the show that you think people will be surprised by?
Well, I think one of the things that I kind of enjoy is in the case of the Mulva Cultural Center, there'll be a series of photos related to as Marv referred to, the history of that particular site.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to run through a series of about 8 to 10 photos highlighting that particular site. It was originally the site of the Village House, which was a hotel. It burned down, as a lot of buildings did back in that day. It was replaced by a large building that was set up as a roller skating center. Roller skating, not unlike pickleball today, was a real popular sport or thing to do for adults and children. So they popped up with all these roller rinks throughout the country at the time. I believe the fad lasted about 2 years, and they went out of business. Eventually, Cook Opera House came into the site, took the building over, and had a nice long run until 1914 when it burned down. Once that burned down, it was replaced by an auto garage with a familiar name. It was the Bergstrom Garage that replaced the site. That building lasted a good many years and was eventually replaced by a Clark lift store that occupied the space for a number of years, then a Shell gas station, and then for a long period of time, an empty lot. And then finally, the Mulva Cultural Center.
Up next, part 2 of our conversation. Hear how the photo show offers more than just a peek into the past through photos. We'll have those details when Off the Desk returns.